No matter where we go, no matter what we do, no matter how far away we are from our culture, our languages, Eritrea is like ingrained in our genes, in the fiber of our being.
At the end of the day, at our core, we're Eritrean, and we have to make sure that the truth about where we come from and who we are is spread.
You're more powerful when you're united. 9 tribes, 1 heart. And I think that's why I love Eritrea.
There's a lot of misinformation going on.
So much noise on social media.
And don't use social media as a source.
Just because you open a room with a topic and you're just spewing whatever you think, it's not fact.
If I stand there and I let someone say something negative about Eritrea and I choose not to say anything, then I'm letting their lie become the loudest voice in the room. I can't sit idly by and let someone disparage and disrespect a country whose people have done so much good.
Yeah, we're always fighting a battle that seems to be very, very hard to win, but we're still fighting and we're still winning. It's just a matter of time. They get louder as our victory becomes clear.
It's all about giving back. I think giving back is one of the best sensation that you can ever get from life.
And if every day I can connect with one person and change one mind, and if each one of us does that, imagine the impact. Imagine the effect we could have on this narrative and this disinformation campaign against Eritrea, that no one can do it better than us. And if you're going to bet on anything, you bet on yourself.
Welcome everybody, Marhaba Bita, to our Independence Month /week celebrations lined up by none other than Airy Express. My name is Rita, and I'm so lucky to be here accompanied by such great and inspiring Eritrean youth in the diaspora. First of all, let's take a moment to hear from these individuals themselves. Hey everybody, please tell us a little bit about who you are as individuals, professionals, Eritrean youth in the diaspora, and what your relationship has been like to your Seattle Eritrean community.
Hello, everyone. I'm Samuel Sahaye, and I was born and raised in Eritrea, and I migrated here when I was a young kid at the age of 11. And my profession right now, I'm a business entrepreneur, and we do import and export of electronic goods, and I am head of the marketing department within our company. As an Eritrean, I have been involved with the community on and off, I would say, since I was a kid. My mother used to take me to the community, and I was there from the beginning. I think it's been about 20 years now that I've been on and off doing a lot of good work with the community and just helping out and doing what I can as a proud Eritrean in our country these days. And nowadays, there's a lot of misinformation that's going on, and I'm just trying to pick up from the elders, and trying to just learn from them and keep this going and help my country.
My name is Sanait Hapte Hall, and I am currently a program manager so really the focus of my job is how to get more Brown and Black children interested in science and eventually bring them into the healthcare field. So I'm really out in the community. I'm in elementary, high schools, colleges. I'm working with kids that look just like us. And I'm encouraging them to use their God-given talents to help the next generation, right? We know that there's a health disparity in America and that our children don't get the best healthcare outcomes unless they're being treated by people who look like them. And so my passion really is making sure that at the end of the day, our community can take care of our community ourselves, because we know better than anyone that no one can do it better than us. And if you're going to bet on anything, you bet on yourself.
100%, especially when you said that our community has to be ready to help our community. It made me think of the same self-reliance that got us to where we are today as Eritrean. So thank you for that.
Community and a culture that believes in self-determination and self-reliance. And no matter where you are in the world, like at the end of the day, I'm Eritrean. And so those are things that are important to me, ingrained in me. And my job now is to ingrain it in the next generation. I grew up here in Seattle. I grew up a part of the community. My mother made sure that we went to Habesha school Saturdays and Sundays. We went to every wedding. We were at graduations. We did all of those things. And I grew up knowing that being Eritrean was special, that it was different, that we had a culture and a community that other people were jealous of. They were trying to figure out, how do you do that thing with your tongue, or all of the things that we grew up knowing, and kind of just, for us, it was normal. Now, as an adult, I really get to see how special that is. So my passion has become, how do I make sure that my 7-year-old son kind of has that same love and energy for Eritrea that I do. And so he goes to the community, right? They know him and see him. He's going to Habesha school on Saturdays. You know, he goes back home and understands who he is. So that's our job, right? Is the legacy our parents gave us. My job is to make sure that my child grows up with that same legacy and passion.
Thank you so much, Senate. That was amazing.
My name is Miron Abraham, and I graduated from Oregon State University in Corvallis. Now I'm actually, I own a couple of businesses. I own a cannabis farm, and I also own a CBD e-commerce brand too as well. So I'm a day trader too as well. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to contact me. Unity is one of the things that I recommend, you know, and understanding about the whole situation too as well, to educate yourself about those things. So
now I'd like to hear a little bit more about what you guys have been up to, working together as a unit or like as a task force to kind of just spread, like you said, the truth about Eritrea, and kind of bring it under the spotlight within your local government and just the local community in Seattle.
We have a task force to battle the misinformation that's been going on in the media, in the American media, and around the world regarding what has been going on in the Horn of Africa. And as proud Eritreans, we have basically gotten a task force that is reaching out to local politicians, as well as building main social media platforms, and kind of just giving the people the information, that the truth as to what is going on in the Horn of Africa. As I said earlier, there's a lot of misinformation going on, whether it is from countries within Africa or countries, and also from the CNN, to name a few. So in order for us to fight this fight, we have to reach out to the local politicians, regional administrators, and people like-minded, in order to get the truth out there. So that's what we've been doing.
That's dope. Very, very inspiring, especially, you know, like with limited resources, with, you know, it's still COVID, and it's hard to just be in contact with others, that you guys are doing what you can.
Prior to this year, I hadn't really been active in the community, right? Life has a way of taking you away. You know, you get so busy going to work and getting married and having a family and children, doing those things, that it moves you away into a place of just day-to-day, you know, routine. And so for me, what happened is that as I started to hear the news of what was happening back home, and starting to see what was happening on social media with this premeditated and, I would say, purposeful disinformation campaign that was happening on social media, it lit a fire in me to do something. And so our group actually came together initially with wanting knowledge. All of us came from a place of really trying to understand what's happening. And so originally, the Seattle Eritrean Public Diplomacy Task Force came together as a place for education. We were going to teach each other what was going on. We were going to make sure that we knew what was the truth, because there was so much noise on social media that even as a proud Eritrean, it was hard to stay proud when you're constantly hearing these crazy stories about what's going on back home. You know, the elders of our communities would say things like, we're Eritrean. We would never do that. If they knew who we were, you know, that's not our culture. Like, it's not Bahlina. It's not who we are. And as an American growing up here, I know that that's not quite good enough of an answer to be able to sway public opinion. And so we started from a place of education, and we invited different guest speakers to come in and educate us, teach us, tell us the history of the region, tell us what happened. Why did this start in November? And from there, we've taken it to the next step where we've engaged our public officials. So we've met with our local officials here in the Seattle, Washington area. We met with representatives. And so now what we've done is we've said, we've got the education, we have the knowledge. Now we need to get out and make sure that everyone else can understand the truth and see that there is a very premeditated and specific attack on Eritrea and the integrity of our people. I can't sit idly by and let someone disparage and disrespect a country that has done so much good in the world and whose people have done so much good. And so that's really where the passion and I would say the want for this group came from. And I'm so proud of the kids who have came together. And I say kids, right? But it's really all of us. So many people have come together, people who may not have been politically active, you know, some, you know, are different political beliefs, and none of that matters to us. At the end of the day, at our core, we're Eritrean. And that's the important part. And we have to make sure that the truth about where we come from and who we are is spread. You know, we know that if we weren't such a powerful force and if we weren't such an important piece of the Horn of Africa, we wouldn't be a target. We've heard the saying, you guys know the comedian, right? If you have one hater, you're trying to figure out how to get 10 more because you're doing something right. There's a reason somebody's hating. And so I think our belief system is, we know the power that is us. And so now our job, especially the Seattle Eritrean Public Diplomacy Task Force, is to make sure that everyone else knows the truth of what's happening in the Horn of Africa and the truth about Eritrea.
So what we do is we have meetings, basically. We have leadership meetings where we all get together and we have specific agendas that we talk about how we can basically educate individuals and stuff too as well. So everybody would have a specific task they would do. You know, for example, I would be the person who would do some of the research. I would try to get all the emails of the councilmen or the congresswomen or the congressmen here in Washington. Another individual would have a different task, right? So they would be, for example, coming up with templates that we could work with, or well, for example, we also have individuals that would work with the community here in Seattle, the Eritrean community here in Seattle. So they would be working with basically the Independence Day, for example. So we would try to get that together. We would make some plans. We would try to bring some of the community leaders, invite them to our Independence Day and educate them a little bit about Eritrea, because it's just one of those things, you know, it's different, you know, reading about it, you know, compared to experiencing what we have to offer. So I am the researcher. I'm the community development researcher for the diplomacy here at Task Force here in Seattle, basically to benefit Eritrea and the community here as well, educate the youth basically here in Seattle too as well, the Eritrean youth here. So basically, depending on, you know, what the situation is happening. For example, the most recent one was the misinformation that's been spreading around about Eritrea from medias or copy and paste campaigns that you would see on social media nowadays too as well. And what I do is basically I do some of the research and try to figure out what the facts are, basically try to spread that within our community in order to educate everybody else here in Seattle too as well. So, and I think that's probably one of the best parts that I like about the whole task force too as well. And I believe Sanag was talking about how it brings everybody together. We accept everybody. Everybody can make a difference just by being there too as well. So, and it's all about unity, I think. So.
Yeah, and I love the part where you mentioned it's way different than reading it or seeing a article or social media post. It's really about like diving into the culture, into the community itself, and being more familiar with who the people are and what they're really about. So that's a big one. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you for sharing that. You guys have experienced a lot, especially just whether it be with like just experiences in general before all the stuff that's happening now, but it's inspiring, and it like tells us, just the generation, your younger brothers and sisters, that hey, these people grew up just like us here in America. They understand exactly what we're going through, that kind of rhetoric, that kind of ideology. And it's like, to see you guys do what you're doing is inspiring, just to the people that are just a few years younger than you, maybe even older than you. So yeah, it's dope. It's very polarizing right now, like to be Eritrean youth in the diaspora, where people very much so label you or target you because, you know, you are proud and just loud and open about your thoughts, beliefs, and what you're about, really, and just kind of like how you were perceived by others just by how you're titled, labeled, that kind of thing. So now it was like, this is it. That was the end of the line for most people. And it's inspiring to see that now people are kind of standing up despite all the targeting and cancel culture, or just people labeling individuals because they are loud and proud Eritreans. How has your work, or how have you all kind of transcended this and kept up your initiatives while simultaneously defending Eritrea despite not really being a part of a political organization? Or
I'm not going to say it's hard, because this is a continuation of what has been going on for many years. It seems that being Eritrean, especially nowadays, it's kind of a cool thing to be in the opposition, regardless what the subject is. And unfortunately, some people in our region have taken up those same type of, I would say, just to, it's I wouldn't say it is hard, but I think we as Eritreans have been fighting the information war for as long as we have known, from, I would say, from a young age, before I even came to America. And it's just even crazier in America because the amount of media and the amount of power this country has. So yeah, we're always fighting a battle that seems to be very, very hard to win, but we're still fighting and we're still winning. It's just a matter of time. They get louder as our victory becomes clear, and it's just, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel now, and that is why we have so many opposition people just accusing us, and some of them are turning to violence in order to scare us away from what we're doing. But unfortunately, this is something that we have faced in the past before, and it's not going to scare us, and we're still going to be marching as the camel has been for the last many, many years.
I like that little spin you had in there at the dog. The camel keeps on marching. I dig it. That's awesome.
Yes. I would say it's the energy of the group. We started off as, I think, 4 or 5 people initially. And in our last meeting, I think we had 36 people on the invite list, right? And this is all by word of mouth. There's been no active campaign. This is just, hey, this is what we're doing. And here's a place where you can come. At all of our meetings, we really commit to an educational piece. So at every meeting, we make sure people walk away with some sort of new knowledge and information. And then the energy of this group, like I'm so proud to be a part of a legacy, right? Like we know from back home, people gave their lives. Thousands of people gave their blood, their sweat, their tears, their families, their homes, their communities. They gave this all up for the idea of Eritrea. If I don't stand up today and make sure that that legacy is protected and respected, then I'm just as bad as the problem, right? They always say, if you're not a part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem. And so that's really where our group kind of takes its cue, is if I stand there and I let someone say something negative about Eritrea and I choose not to say anything, then I'm letting their lie become the loudest voice in the room. And so our job really is to make sure that my truth is the loudest voice in the room. And we know, there's a quote by Mark Twain that says, by the time the lie gets around the world, the truth is just putting his shoes on. And that's really the battle we're fighting right now, right? This entity that has really gone out, they have money, right? They have access to different levels of government policy. We've seen them kind of creep into all different places. Even mainstream media now is taking its cues from social media. And that's a crazy flip. And so our job really is to say, as a group, we're going to do something. And it can be as little as every day I communicate with different people in my community to make sure that they're educated. Great. That's one more voice that's changing the narrative, right? So I think everybody can do something different. I grew up in a household where my mother was at the community every day, working and doing different things. And so to me, that's just the example that's always been set. And everybody has to come to this work, I think, at your own time and, when you're ready. And for me, this just happens to be the right time and the right moment. And so I hope what this does for others is that you can see that, it can fit into your life. You can make a space where this works, and everybody has a different gift, skill, talent. And as long as you're using that in a positive purpose, I think we all win.
No, exactly. Like, I love how you mentioned the Mark Twain quote, but also just this idea that if you don't tell your story, someone else will, and it's not going to be the truth. It's going to be whatever they wanted to say because you were silent at that moment in time. That was just amazing.
As a young kid, just one of those things that, I love doing research, watching movies and stuff. They try to basically give you a visual of situations and stuff too as well. But I've always loved doing research. So I always try to figure out the facts about things, what works and what doesn't work and stuff. And I think what caught my eye was the self-reliance project. And it got me so interested that I had to dig in what it was all about and why it can make a difference. And I think bringing everybody together on the same project is the only way to make people understand from a business perspective too, as well. I think, for something to work or for something to be established is everybody would have to be on the same concept. Right. And I think a lot of people don't have a lot of, understanding of what it is. Or they believe that it takes so much time, a lot of sacrifice, and I think everybody understands that there's always going to be sacrifices in everything you do. And I think what brought my thing was the whole self project, and then I think people, the Eritrean soldiers, sacrificing themselves because they actually believed in the self-reliance and self project that we're working on. And for me is, I'm always on social media. So a lot of people would, either ask me questions or basically spread misinformation. And what I do is I'm always there teaching and educating, just have a normal conversation between one another and try to figure out, where this information is coming from and why not give it a chance. Right. So I'm always on there, and, I always advocate for people, if they have any questions or anything like that too, as well, to ask, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's one of the reasons why, because of the self-reliance project. And that's why I think I like doing that part. So
no, that's very awesome. Very, very cool to hear that. Just you being open, especially you all as an organization working together as a unit, being very open to what you see around you. You mentioned social media, which is a very big thing right now with it's been a big thing with especially the youth in regards to being connected, in regards to getting information. And it's very important, and it's key that we are useful and are mindful of the strength of this tool. So very cool to hear. This next question is a little bit of a segue. This year, especially just marking the 30th anniversary of Eritrea's liberation, how do you feel when Independence Day is brought up? How do you feel when people kind of just talk about independence? Are there any stories or specific memories that come to mind for you?
Independence Day, what can I say? It's a great celebration. There's no words you can put this Independence Day. It means a lot more because, as we know, we've gotten our independence for the last 30 years, but we feel like we've been fighting another war for our independence. And the fact that this year means a lot because of the current problem that's been going on in the region is hopefully coming to a close. So we could see there's a lot of positive things that are coming toward Eritrea, and it just means a lot. And I know with COVID happening and the social distancing and all that kind of stuff going on, I know it is really hard to plan such a large gathering, but hey, we're doing it, and we're going to be victorious, and we're going to succeed. And
thank you for sharing that, Sammy.
I remember independence is kind of one of those, it's like the family reunion, right? Like for Americans, they talk about in the summertime, they have family reunions and the barbecues. For us, that family reunion is independence. Like that's when you get to see everybody you haven't seen all year. I specifically remember growing up, we would always go in a group, right? There's a group of us and we go together and it's to be seen. So you're going to wear, your cutest t-shirt, the new one that came out that year, the flags, jewelry, all of that good stuff is coming out. And it's really that moment where you get to be proud, get to celebrate the independence, the long fought war, the history, kind of all of those things. But I think the piece that really stays with me is that it's a family reunion. That's the place where I get to reconnect with everybody in Seattle that I don't get to see day to day because we live all over the place. You get to just reminisce. It holds so many like childhood memories, dance, learning, like the dance groups would come up. I remember my favorite all time ever is Kunama, when they would come up and do the Kunama dance, the kids. Like last year, my son got to be a part of it. So it's coming full circle, right? Like there's these things that happen at Independence that I don't know any other community really gets. And so part of that too is inviting other people. Every year I've always brought a friend with me to Independence because that's our moment to really show them, what's so beautiful about our culture, our community, the family, the friendly, the hospitality. I can't tell you the number of times I've brought somebody to Independence and someone's like, do you need food? Do you need coffee? What do you need? That's our hospitality. So Independence will always hold a special place in my heart, but I think it's family reunion.
I love how you did that. We definitely need to put a little trademark on that, Eritrean family reunion. That's exactly. That's the next thing we gotta do is trademark it. But no, I feel the exact same way. It's definitely a family reunion in the sense that your community is your family. And when there's these festivals even and just different opportunities to be with other Eritreans, it's immediately feel like family. Like I have no idea who this person is, but the second you are in the same room, it's just like a family reunion. Exactly. That was perfect. Thank you. So
I think for me is, I've never heard this before where 9 different individual tribes all love each other and they all agree to everything, right? They it's like they have a saying, 9 tribes, 1 heart. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody lives peacefully within one another. Religion is never brought up. You're first Eritrean, I guess, before you're, either Muslim or Christian, right? Eritrea doesn't have an official language. All the languages are treated equally. And I've never heard that before, and I think that, and I'm still going to go back to unity. I think that's what it is, it says it in our flag too, if you really think about it. It's got the 30 leaves on each end, right? Which basically describes the 30-year war that we had with the Ethiopian military regime at that point, right? And the natural resources and stuff. But it's just that the unity. I think that's what it is, and I think that's what makes us Eritreans.
Yeah.
And that's what every time independence shows up, it's not just about the flag and people dancing and stuff like that. I think it's just bringing everybody together, and I love that. And I think that's the whole point of the task force. And I love the whole point that it's bringing people together. And I think it's bigger than what it used to be. I think unity. I think that's the first thing that pops up when somebody says, Eritrean independence. unity.
And that's a really important thing you brought up. Not many other spaces in the world, not many other individuals can recall or even, pinpoint a certain region, area, anywhere in the world that's kind of has those ideals at the forefront, that this type of like self-preservation, but unity from within and self-reliance is like very key, and very awesome that you brought that up. This next question really just ties into what a lot of the youth are about these days, especially when it comes to Eritrea. So it's this idea that sending Eritrea goes way beyond the idea of, us working for a place that's thousands of miles away, or thousands of miles away from where our feet are planted right now, or the people and family we see every other summer, if we're lucky, because Eritrea is not just a place, it's not just where our family, our people are, but it's where we are. Because no matter where we go, no matter what we do, no matter how far away we are from our culture, our languages, we could be in Antarctica, you know what I mean? We could be completely away from anything that relates to Eritrea or has other Eritreans. But the idea that Eritrea is like harvested within our identity, like it is ingrained in our genes, in our the fiber of our beings, is that we are Eritrea. There's this amazing person named Ruth Negash, and I've heard her speak just a few times, but she's somebody that grew up here in the States, was very active in her local community, helped, gathering the youth and that kind of thing. But she came to the realization that her life's mission was to just be and work in Eritrea. And that's kind of, it's very noble and it's admiring, but she said something that like still sticks with me. Like she said something at a conference like 3 years ago, and it was, we are Eritrea, the highest level or status we achieve, so does Eritrea. So no matter where we are, no matter how far away our cultures and languages are from where we are physically, Eritrea is always with us. Eritrea is in us. We are all Eritrea. So how do you interpret this? How, like,
when I hear my fellow Eritreans saying things like that, it inspires me to do more, because I commend her for doing what she's doing, and being an Eritrean, regardless how many miles away we are from home, we're always going to be a reflection of and a representation of our country, and we must represent it in a way that is reflective of our culture and our people. So I think we are doing that as a group, and as Eritreans around the world, we are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that our country is known and it's respected around the world, and its sovereignty is respected. So I think it is the responsibility of every Eritrean to keep on doing this good work, because in due time we will get what's coming to us. So to me, every time I hear a fellow Eritrean doing something that is just takes it a little too far, or whatever it is, and they're just doing a lot, all it does is it inspires me to do more, because we can always do more to better our country.
Yeah, 100%. There's never like a limit to anything. We can always be doing something. We can always be just active, helping others, or weeks where we can do it. Yeah. So
for me, there's two pieces to this one, right? There's the part that edifies within me anywhere that I go. I will tell you that I grew up in Seattle, and it's less than 25% people of color, right? So it's a predominantly white community. And whenever we saw another Eritrean, there's an excitement. We would be like, oh, hi, especially at work. We immediately connect. We say hello. We're thinking about how can we help each other? Where are those places? And it's because there's a natural bond built into the struggle that we've been through, right? Growing up in America is a challenge, being from an immigrant community, not always given the same respect, right, as everyone else. The other piece of that for me is a little bit more personal. I didn't always have the closest connection to Eritrea growing up. And that was because I lived in a really predominantly white community. I went to private schools. Most often, I was the only Black kid. I grew up in a really isolated place. And when I started to go back home, that changed for me. The first time I went back home was in 2000. And the last time I was back home was 2018. And in 2018, after 2 weeks of being back home, I called my mom and I said, hey, if I move to Eritrea, what do you think? And she goes, what do you mean? Like, she's like, of all the kids, you're not the one I thought was going to move back home. But what happened for me was the peace, the connection, the joy that I felt in those 2 weeks gave me the belief that that's where I belonged. I found a school for my son. We have a house there. I created a business. Like, I was gone. I was out of the country. I was moving back home, because I think it's that same sentiment, right? Is that in America, I feel like a Habesha person in an American culture. And back home, I felt home. Even if I'm an American and I grew up here, at the end of the day, my roots, my soul said, this is where you belong. And I think that's the part of Eritrea that never leaves you, right? And that's where I felt my connection. So now what I'm doing here is I'm figuring out how to save my money, how to create that business. And my end goal really is to go back home and to know that that's the place that I can do the most for my community, for my people. It's the place where my son will thrive and flourish, because we know that the way America is now, I worry about his safety, right? I worry, is he going to be okay tomorrow? And the thing that I know is back home in Eritrea, we are accepted with open arms, and that's my home, right? That's the place that I truly find peace.
That was so moving. I'm like so excited for you. When I'm ready to move back, I'm going to call you up, ask for all your help and everything.
My mom was like, who are you? She was like, decide this.
Who's this? Like that kind of but no, when you sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
But just the part when you had mentioned I'm an Eritrean in American culture, like I'm here right now, like this is a momentary kind of, just for right now kind of situation. Like even Nipsey, when he talked about being in Eritrea, I was like, being amongst people that look just like you, the police look just like you, your leaders look just like you, and they're for you, they're about you, and like your people are there welcoming you, and it's like it's almost a culture shock, even though like that's our home. It's like a culture shock. So thank you for sharing your experience.
It's a change, right? Like that's not where I thought my life would end up, but because I'm open, right? And I really, when I go back home, I get to experience everything, I go on tours. When someone says, hey, you want to go to Nakfa? Yes. Do you want to go to Keren? I'm on the way. Do you want to go to Bata and go snorkeling on Green Island? Yes. Right. It's just because everything feels like home, right? Like you don't ever feel like you're not supposed to be there. And our community and our culture is so beautiful that it's like, why wouldn't I want to spend every day, right, in that peace, in that beauty, in that everything. And so that's why, like for my son, he's 7 years old and he's already been back home twice, because I want him to have that same love and passion for who he is and where he comes from. And then I also want him to grow up with the same, values that we have, which is, we talked about that self-determination, right? That self-reliant, that belief in family, in culture, in faith. Like those are the driving forces of who we are. Like we believe in these things, and there's an integrity to the people back home, right? We do what we're going to say we do. And, there's so much beauty in our culture that's what I want people to take away. Like I wish everyone could see Eritrea the way I see it now, because I feel like that would completely dispel any misconception, any mistruths that are out there, because that is all clouding the truth. You can't see through the mess to get to the beauty.
Wow. Thank you, Sanai. I really appreciate hearing all that. And I think a lot of other people will as well.
From my perspective is I've always had this motto about giving back. It's all about giving back. You can make the most, but I think giving back is one of the best sensation that you can ever get from life. And, I've always had this idea, which I'm still working on it, where I want to make the most here and actually go back and do something. I'm a big fan in the farming business. So agriculture is one of the biggest things that I believe is huge and can create jobs back in Eritrea. And you can tell from our flag, the green, one of the things that it represents and symbolizes too as well, the amount of natural resources that we have in Eritrea. But it's just, I think it's giving back. So for me, I want to create jobs and industries where people can, do things back in Eritrea and they can have that. It's more about getting all the education that you can from here and then going back and doing something, right? And I think, and it's possible. And I think a lot of people don't know how, possible it is. It's just, like creating a business. A lot of people think, creating a business is a lot of work. Nothing is achieved if you don't work so hard, right? And one of the things why we have independence, we worked so hard for it. And we made it happen. So, and if I can create 2-3 businesses here, anything is possible, from my perspective too as well. So, but I am working on things. Can't say anything yet now, until it's done. But I am going to go to Eritrea this summer. So I'm hoping to do something. So
that's exciting. That's very, very, that's so cool to see how your professional, desires, things that you enjoy on a professional level kind of coincide or resonate from your Eritreanism in a way. And that's, especially living in the US, not many of us can really say that in a world where it's like, you go to work, you get an education, so you can have a nice job and have a nice life, whatever. But like for so many Eritreans, like speaking to other Eritrean youth growing up here, it's like you do something that you love that also stems from being Eritrean so that you can eventually go back home, or you can really just dig deep and use your skills to develop more back home, or just to do your part. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I always wanted to do. I wanted to give back. I wanted to do something where they can, solve problems too as well. Which I do have a couple ideas for the agriculture businesses out there too as well. So I have been talking to a couple of people where we might come up with something where we can do something. So, and, if anybody wants to be part of this too as well, feel free to hit me up on social media. I'm very active. So I'm one call away.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Well, I hope everything goes good with that. Can't wait to hear more about it soon. Best of luck to you on the project. And very cool, very cool.
You're more powerful when you're united. So I think that's why I love Eritrea. And what it's for too as well, what it stands for. So
yeah, that's amazing to hear. Thank you, Miran. Yeah, and then just lastly, do you have any advice or words of encouragement for all Eritreans, but especially Eritrean youth growing up in the craziness that is today's world, especially those who are like very unsure of our cultures and languages, are like completely different from where we would be if we were back home, how they can get involved or are a bit uncomfortable, don't know, they don't feel safe to go ahead and speak up?
From my perspective is, don't use social media as a source. And I think a lot of people read things and they embed that into their work activities. It can bring you down, and I understand that social media has a lot of reach nowadays, and a lot of people use that as a source or as a fact check or, whatever the case is. I recommend you speak to somebody that has been in the market or who's been involved in the community to do things, right? To join communities. The Eritrean community is very active, and a lot of people that, that can help. And I think that was probably one of the best things that I have, when the moment Midhane contacted me and the amount of networks he had, and he listened to everything I had to say, what I wanted to do. He was very welcome. And and I think, I recommend people to touch base with anybody in the task force, Eritrean Community Centers. And I'm sure there's always ways we can help. It's out there. We're one call away, and don't use social media as a source. But that's I strictly recommend that too as well. So.
No, that's a big one for sure. It's just because like social media has become such like a normalized routine of like almost, you know what I mean? There's not like a day where most people can say that I wasn't on social media at all. Or
you'd be surprised. I mean, you got Clubhouse nowadays, right? And Clubhouse, individuals who come up with discussion or topics, automatically are considered to be investors, I guess, in a way, which is mind blowing to me. Once you find out the background of those individuals, there's nothing that actually connects them to the discussion or the topic that is, there. So, but like I said, it has a lot of reach. So it's just one of those things that it's very dangerous for you and for the community and, for somebody's goal, really hard to, reach your goal if you go through the wrong path and stuff. So, for example, when I started business, I've always went to seminars, talked to people who have businesses. And I think that's the best way. I think it's the easiest way. Talk to individuals who actually run a business or own a business. And if you do want to run a business, that's the route I would recommend anybody to do. So if that's right. And there's always other ways to give back to as well. It's not about just creating jobs and stuff too as well. Your voice could be there. What you're doing right now too, Ruta, we appreciate that because that's going to get a lot of reach too as well. So you doing you. So
yeah. And I like how you mentioned, like, we all kind of have to do our part, and that's just the nature of it. We all got to do something because there's always something for everyone to do. And the point that you made with knowing who your sources are, like, you kind of mentioned Clubhouse and other social medias, that like just because you open a room with a topic and you're just spewing whatever you think, it's not facts. But you should also check who's saying it, because a lot of times on Clubhouse or in just social media in general, it's from like mystery accounts that just sound like investors. So it's like you don't even know who this person is, or you can't even trace anything to them. So
no, exactly. And I've never downloaded it, but the topics that I've heard, I just felt like, it's going to be wasting my time, honestly, even though I believe, educating people is probably the best way to do. But I feel like there's so many that have different agendas in those clubhouses. So they have different things and what they want to do too as well, bringing up those topics and stuff too as well. So
exactly, you're on it, and you're not, like you said, you're not even on the app, and you already know.
No, I'm too busy trying to make something happen for Eritrea. That's basically what I'm doing.
That is what we love to hear.
One of the biggest thing I would like to remind the diaspora or the youngins who are who just getting here is that we just have to remember our culture and how we are. We talk with each other with respect, and we hold each person into account, when they do wrong. And there's nothing wrong. We should be able to talk to each other without getting into any other type of threats or whatever it is going on. And my advice to the diaspora is, I understand that most of the information that they get when they come to this country, it could be not true on a lot of fronts. But I think one of the main things to do is we have an Eritrean community in every city. And it's just a matter of reaching out to the community members and trying to just see that what you can do, because it doesn't matter whether you got out of the country, however it is, that we as Eritreans are always going to be proud, and we're always going to help our people regardless what it is. We just need the respect. We just need to treat each other with respect, and just a reminder of the culture and of how we were raised and what our parents went through in order to get us this freedom. We always have to remember this, and I couldn't say it any more louder right now with the celebration of our independence. That's exactly what we're doing, is we are celebrating what we went through, what our culture is. And it's a celebration of every Eritrean that's around the world. So whether you're in the diaspora or whether you're in Eritrea, we always must remember those who helped us get to where we're at.
That was amazing.
I would say find someone that you trust to ask the questions, right? To engage in the conversations. For me, I have found a mentor in this work. Medhani has been that person to me that just, when I'm unsure of myself, when I'm unsure of what I want to say or what I want to ask, he's the person that can help steer me, guide me, connect me with the right resource. And so what I would say to anyone is to find someone that you trust to be that person for you, that you have to come to this when your time is ready. And so for me, this time is now. And it's because, right, everything has it's collided out all at once, right? We're at a place where, this pandemic has caused people to be home And so now they're on social media more. So social media carries a much more powerful kind of lever in the world. And so to me, it's like, if I'm not a part of the solution, then I'm a part of that problem. And so what I would say to our youth in our community is, look at your parents, look at all of the great martyrs, all of the fighters, all of the leaders who have given up of them their entire lives. And so for me, I say, if not me, who? If I don't pick up this gauntlet and, follow the path that they have created, they cleared the trees for us. They cleared the pathway, they cut the trees, they made the forest clear and gave us a road with which we can travel. And so my job now is to travel that road. And so I have to do it not only for myself, but for my son. Like, I have a 7-year-old who says, Mama, I'm Eritrean. And he's proud. And so I better make sure that he continues that belief and that pride, and that he also knows that's his home, right? There's a legacy here, and that legacy is important. It's a part of who we are, but it's a part of our future as well, right? If you don't know where you've been, you'll never know where you're going. And so that for me is the important part. And my job really is just to help myself, my son, the next generation. For all the people who did it before me, my little piece, is nothing in the great scheme of things. And so that's my contribution to this beautiful, amazing, wonderful country and culture. And so at least I can say, I did something. And I think that's really important. And whatever that is, it can be as small as writing a letter, writing a post on social media that challenges a narrative, talking to someone at work. All of those things are important and impactful. It doesn't have to be this big, huge platform. And the power is in connecting with individual people. And if every day I can connect with one person and change one mind, well, at the end of a year, I've gotten 365 people, right? And if each one of us does that, imagine the impact. Imagine the effect we could have on this narrative and this disinformation campaign against Eritrea. So I feel like, many hands make light work. So if everybody takes a little piece of this, then we can absolutely change the tide of the conversation right now and ensure that in 30 years from now, we're celebrating Eritrea's 60th anniversary across the world, on television, everywhere, so that everyone's celebrating with us. And it's not just, our community inviting people in. It's really that we're a part of the world. We're global and everyone understands who we are.
That was amazing. You had me crying a little bit over here when you talked about your son. I was like, this is it. I'm crying. Yeah. No, that was so amazing. I'm so excited to hear people, like, to watch people listen to what you're saying, because this is exactly what, like, I have a younger sister, and like, she might not be really involved in the community, but it's also like, can you blame some people? It's hard with just being away from your home, but only knowing where you are now as your home.
That's the challenge, right? Like, you have to think we're at a different space. My challenge today is different than that of my parents, and the kids that are younger than me, their challenge is way tougher than mine was growing up. And so I have empathy and I have deep respect for everyone's individual experience. But at the end of the day, we have this commonality. We have this great, amazing thing that ties us all together. And we should be excited about it. I've never been so proud to be Eritrean than I am in this moment right now. And for some people that might be contradictory, right? Like, with the news that's happening and all of those things. But what makes me so proud is I'm a part of a movement. I'm part of a moment. Like, the little piece of the work that we are owning in Seattle is so impactful here to our people. And to watch our community grow, and to watch, people like me who maybe haven't been active really decide that, this is my moment. This is where I'm going to step up. To me, that's the that's the legacy of our parents and our community here. The one thing that I tell you is the difference maker is that the leaders in our community have said, yes, we want you and we trust you and we believe in you. And so, especially with this task force, they've really allowed us to kind of self-determine what we focus on, where we go, how we create. And to me, that's the greatest blessing in all of this, right? Is that not only have they said, yes, we want you to come and do the work, right? Because that's heavy lifting, but we're going to allow you to create your path forward. We're not going to tell you how to do the work. We're going to tell you, what we've learned along the way, because, I will learn from your mistakes. I don't have to make the same one. I'm so open, right? You can teach me. And so it's been really nice to have this new relationship, to have this new tie to the community. This community center in Seattle was built for us. We've always been told that, right? This community is for you guys. And so now I truly believe that I'm a part of this community and that it is built for me and it's built for my son and it's built for the next generation. And, whether or not you've been an active participant or not, it doesn't mean you can't be one tomorrow, right? Today is today and tomorrow is a different day. And so I don't ever want people to feel like this history or, I didn't do this before. I was welcomed with open arms today to do this work, right? There are people who have been doing this for 20 years and none of them looked at me and said, where have you been? They all said, welcome. What can you do? What do you want to do? And how can we help you do it? And so to me, it's partnership between the two, right? We need the adults to open themselves up to some, challenging conversations, to a different way of doing things. We might not do it exactly like they did, but what has given us success in Seattle is that they have allowed us the space to do it in a way that works for us and our generation. And we're seeing success in that. And so I would ask, any youth that is interested, again, find that adult that you trust that's been in the community, that's been doing this work, and have those conversations. And then for the adults, I understand they've been doing this work for so long and the struggle has been so hard. But if you want us to step in and to partner with you and to do this work, you have to give us the space to do it in a way that we feel like we can own it and we have partnership and we have, like, if I feel like I'm an owner of this store, I'm going to work harder for this store than if I feel like I'm an employee. And so make me feel like an owner, make me feel like I have a voice and that my voice matters. And I'm going to work 10 times harder because guess what? Now I own the result. And so those are the things that I would ask our community to do, is to really find that compromise, right? Give the youth the space to do it a little differently, right? Maybe they don't write a letter. Maybe they do an Instagram post. Guess what? That works today. And so if we just allow people to kind of be themselves, to grow, develop, and move this mountain, then I'm sure that we can all see success and progress. And I think that's been the key for Seattle, is that there's a true respect and a partnership between the community leaders and the youth.
That was fantastic as well. Thank you. Thank you all for being here and doing what you're doing. You are all really, truly leading by example. Again, happy Independence Day. نكون بنبل ثلاثة عامات ناس الناتي بتاعنا. عوت نهفش.
I wouldn't have much.
Thank you, Ruta. So excited to be here.